a lot of people in this administration, people in power, the FBI director, the attorney general, the deputy attorney general, and more, spent years building up the release of these files. And now the collective group has kind of done a 180. Doesn't it make you wonder what they've been saying to each other about it behind the scenes over all these months and what they're being asked to protect? Today, one of the organizations that has been at the forefront of holding this administration accountable sued the Trump administration to answer those very questions. That lawsuit, filed by Democracy Forward, is demanding that the administration release information about their handling of the Epstein debacle, information that could explain why they've avoided disclosing the Epstein files. Among other things, the lawsuit is seeking internal communications, and this is a key part, from within the FBI and the Department of Justice. Basically anything about Epstein, potential client lists, flight logs, and anything relating to Ghislaine Maxwell. Just to put a fine point on this, that would include emails, memos, text messages, any chatter whatsoever, basically any internal chatter whatsoever from within these agencies about how to handle what has become a huge problem for Trump. And they list several top officials at the FBI and DOJ whose correspondence they are seeking, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and a number of high-level officials who work for them. But there was one name in particular that appears in that lawsuit that stuck out to me, because they also requested all records reflecting communications between any of those law enforcement officials and White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, anything they might have discussed with Leavitt regarding the Jeffrey Epstein matter. Now, Karoline Leavitt clearly doesn't work for the FBI or DOJ. She works in the White House, and she is notably the only White House official named in their request. So even the mere suggestion that she might have communicated with the DOJ or FBI about something like this is a pretty gigantic red flag. I mean, in my experience, senior officials at the FBI and DOJ and the White House take great pains to avoid even the appearance of coordination on law enforcement matters. And to be clear, we don't know, actually, if Karoline Leavitt corresponded with those officials or what might have been said. But they're asking for a reason. I'm going to talk to him about it in a moment. And remember, the press secretary is not only responsible for answering to the public, they're also an advisor to the president. So any communication that Karoline Leavitt had with DOJ or FBI could tell us a lot about what the president might be trying to hide. Joining me now, Skye Perryman, the president and CEO of Democracy Forward, the group that just filed the lawsuit today seeking documents about the handling of the Epstein files and internal communications, as I mentioned, and Barry Levine, the author of The Spider Inside the Criminal Web of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Thank you both. Let me start with you, Skye. I mean, this lawsuit is unique for a lot of reasons, but part of it is because the information you're looking for is about internal communications, of which there is a lot of in administrations. And if it's with an agency, it is subject to FOIA, not within the White House, but within an agency. So why did you take that approach, and what are you looking for, really?
Well, we are looking for what this administration is hiding, Jen, and what the cover-up is. There are just so many reports that we've seen where officials within the administration are withholding things. The administration is changing positions, and it all appears to be to manage Donald Trump's sort of made-for-TV moments in his PR campaign. And so we're very interested in these communications. We filed the request. The government could have said we don't have any documents, but they haven't said that yet. And then now, of course, we're in court because they're withholding these documents in a timely manner.
I just mentioned this. I mean, I had her job before, so maybe that's what sticks out to me. But the only White House official mentioned here is Karoline Leavitt. You're asking for internal communications that she had with the Department of Justice, FBI. Tell me why you specifically included her name above others.
You know, it would be normally irregular in an administration that followed the rule of law and didn't politicize agencies like the Department of Justice or like the FBI. But we've been hearing so many concerns from people that this administration has really politicized these agencies. We believe that there are communications. And again, the government is free to tell us that there are not, that they have not said that, notably. And so we are now really wondering what they're hiding and are going to be in court to force those answers.
Barry, you've been covering Epstein and Maxwell for years. I mean, a lot of us are just learning a lot about this story over the past couple of weeks. You know more than most of us know. If there are things that the Attorney General and the press secretary might be concerned about going public, we don't know what they are. We don't even know that documents exist. But where does your mind go? I mean, why have they been so strange about not wanting to just release these files?
Well, certainly, Jen, my mind goes in the direction of what embarrassing secrets may be in the overall FBI Epstein files related to President Trump. That, to me, is paramount to all of this. And it would seem to me that's the reason why we're going through this cover-up that almost is taking on kind of a Watergate-esque atmosphere in terms of what are they hiding. Each day as this goes on, more and more people are wondering, the survivors are wondering, what is in those files? And if there's nothing in a real derogatory sense related to the president, why don't they go ahead with what Pam Bondi initially said, and that is, let's have complete transparency for the victims, for the American public, and let's get to the root of what's in those files. And if there's individuals who are enablers, who also took part in the sex trafficking, let's prosecute them.
What do you think they're hiding? I mean, why do you've covered this, you wrote a whole book about it. Why do you think, what is your theory on why they will not release this and what Trump's connection to all of this is? We played the deposition. There's probably more of that, maybe. Well, what do you think?
Well, we certainly know that their relationship lasted 15 years. And, you know, tidbits of that relationship are still coming out. There was a former Sports Illustrated model in the 2024 campaign who was reported in the Guardian newspaper. She talked about an incident that took place back in the 90s where she was a casual girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein's. He took her to Trump Tower, and she claimed that Donald Trump had groped her in front of Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, she called it a twisted game between the two men. Now, at the time of the campaign, they put it off as completely false. This was a political stunt. But I wonder, could there be more incidents like that that could be buried in the FBI files? And also, you know, I'm hearing that there could be some information. I reported in my book that Donald Trump had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein of a financial nature. Was he seeking advice from Jeffrey Epstein? These may not be issues that are strictly related to women. There may be other issues in those files that now, in the light of day, could be very sensitive or embarrassing to the president.
I know, Skye, you have been seeking this information. So many people have been seeking this information. When you're seeking these internal communications, all this internal communications, what could come to light? I mean, I guess they could be discussing any of these incidents. That's possible. It could be discussing how to manage the leak of it. What kind of pool of information do you anticipate could possibly be in here if you get this?
Well, you know, you would see things like calendar requests on people's computers. Who was meeting with who? You would see things like notes that were made, drafts, ways that they're trying to use a PR operation to deprive the American people of information that they've said over and over that they will disclose. And so those are the types of things: internal communications, notes, calendar invites, who was talking about this, which offices were involved, right? There is a big concern in this administration. We see almost on a near daily basis the politicization of agencies like the Department of Justice that are supposed to be independent, where you have the president meddling around in those agencies. And so those are the types of things that we would expect to see here. And again, I just think it's important for the American people to know, you know, we had to file this request because the administration is withholding and is not responding in a timely fashion to these requests, which are, you know, something that people have a right to know. So again, they could disclaim or say they don't have these records. That's not what they've done to date. They have dragged their feet, and that's why we're in court.
From reading through your files, I'm not a lawyer, but I still read through them. It seemed like you said about a 20-day deadline, your deadline, for when you wanted this information back. Help people understand who are watching. What does it mean if they don't comply with that? Is there legal action that can be taken, or you just keep pressing the issue?
Well, we did take legal action, and we took legal action because it's not every case where you would expect an agency to grant what we call an expedited processing request. But the law actually recognizes that on issues of significant importance, where there is great public interest, where there is great media interest, where the people in this country are wanting to know something or asking their government to be transparent, the law gives a mechanism to ask for that type of expedited processing. The Department of Justice hasn't granted that. That's really concerning, right? Because these laws exist in order to build trust between people and their government, to shine sunlight. This administration says it's the most transparent in history, and all we've seen in the number of cases that we bring against the administration is that they really don't disclose and are not transparent until you force them to. So that's why we're in court.